Hello and welcome everyone, it's Kepkin and today we are looking at our best protection warrior talent tree builds for Dragonflight pre-patch because it's 27th of October and pre-patch is gonna long for roughly a month, and everything that comes from Shadowlands like legendaries, covenant abilities, conduits and stuff like that, they all still work, which means that all the builds that we're looking at are gonna be changed going into Dragonflight expansion itself, and we're gonna have so yeah, like the talents themselves can change in this month. So that's all pre-patch builds. We're taking our info from Wowhead. It's about the author of the build itself, of the builds themselves. This guide was written by Larold. I've been tanking since vanilla. During Mists of Pandaria, I saw an opportunity to begin writing guides, and I took it with the hopes of making myself a better tank and making the community into better tanks with me. I hope it's working. I am active in all the tank class discords, but primarily contribute to theory crafting discussions in Pix of Serenity and Skyhold. Yeah, so as you can see, that's quite an experienced guide writer here. I will have a link to the Wowhead article in the pinned comment below the video. As well as I will have all the talent builds linked there as well. So subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this, because there are definitely gonna be more videos like this. We're gonna post videos about the expansion release, builds, guides and stuff like that, just my commentary on different topics about the game. So yeah, now let's go to the build itself. Protection Warrior Mythic Plus talent build. This is a very straightforward, simple setup that will serve any Protection Warrior well while running Mythic Plus dungeons. It emphasizes AoE talents over single target options where applicable, which is kinda logical, self-healing tools, shield block uptime and rage generation. There is a bit of wiggle room based on your covenant and legendary choices, and this setup tends toward defensive options at the possible expense of some DPS. If you're using Reprisal, that's one of our legendary powers that are gonna be available only during the pre-patch. You should spec into Intervene. If not, do not bother. If you're using the Wall, spec out of Impenetrable Wall, as they do not stack. And if you want to play around with different talents, you can see there's a kind of a heat map of talents which are the most useful, which are less useful, which of them are 100% needed to be taken and which are not. So yeah, and now let's just look at the talents themselves. So we have our battle stance and defensive stance by default. Then we have impending victory, which replaces victory rush, and you can heal yourself on demand with this ability on 25 seconds cooldown, and not only while you're killing an enemy, after you've killed an enemy. Fast footwork, additional movement speed passive. Fraud Berserk Revenge has additional chance to refund part of rage spent, so additional resource generation. Crushing Force, Shield Slam deals an additional 10% damage and increased critical strike damage, so it means additional damage as well, which can be quite handy in Mythic Plus especially. Pain and Gain, when you take any damage, heal for 4% of your maximum health. This can only occur once every 10 seconds, so additional self-sustain, which is definitely something that warriors are gonna appreciate. Just additional armor percentage. Gain strength equal to 4% of your armor, which means that you're converting your defensives into damage, into just like general universal damage, which is definitely good. Then we're taking Avatar, which causes you to deal increased damage and removes all roots and snares on 1.5 minutes cooldown and generates a bit of rage as well. And Unstoppable Force. Avatar increases the damage of Thunderclap and Shockwave by 50% and reduces the cooldown of Thunderclap by 50%. So for Shockwave, we're not taking the Shockwave in this build, which means that Unstoppable Force is gonna mostly affect only Thunderclap. So as some additional talents here, in between there is Heroic Leap, which it's our blink ability that gives us additional mobility. War Machine, your auto attacks generate 50% more rage, and when you're killing enemy, you instantly get some rage and movement speed increase. That's just good for your resource generation. Spell reflection, raise your shield reflecting first spell cast on you, which can definitely improve your defensives, especially with 25 seconds recharge. Rallying cry is our talent that's gonna give additional survivability to the group and to yourself. Leech increased by 5%, which means that you will have additional self-sustain, and it's definitely gonna be quite handy for like warrior tank especially. Thunderclap, one of our main abilities, core abilities to the class. So that's your builder of your rage. It's one of your main AoE abilities. It slows enemies. That's just great. Auto attack speed increased by 5%, which means more damage and more rage generation, especially combined with War Machine. Barbaric training, revenge deals increased damage but now costs 10 more rage. Again, more AoE damage, always gonna be nice in M+. Stormbolt, your single target stun ability. Sidearm, your auto attacks have a 20% chance to hurl weapons at your target and 3 other enemies in front of you, dealing additional physical damage. Proc chance 20%, and yeah, so that's your just your auto attacks can weave in some additional AoE damage, which is definitely gonna be 100% taken in M+. Endurance training, stamina increased by 5%, and the duration of fear, sap, and incapacitate effects on you is reduced by 10%. So like stamina increase by 5% just means that you're gonna have bigger HP pool, and additional decrease of different crowd control effects on you can be good as well. Seismic reverberation, if whirlwind or revenge hits 3 or more enemies, it hits them 1 additional time for 30% damage, accumulates more AoE damage, always equals always good in M+. Blood and Thunder. Thunderclap deals 10% increased damage, and if you have Rend, Thunderclap affects 5 nearby targets with Rend. So that's your Rend spender if you were to take that talent. But even if you're not, and we're taking it here, so yeah, you will have additional AoE damage dots with Rend, and there may be some Rend increase effects. And additionally, you just deal more AoE damage. Increases the double time, increases the maximum number of charges on charge, and reduces its cooldown by 3 seconds, which means more mobility to you. And one-handed weapon specialization, damage with one-handed weapons and leech increased by 5%. Additional self-sustain and additional general damage increases. Okay, so looks kinda like passive heavy talent tree, which they're mostly are so you're not really spreading yourself too thin with actives like Titanic Throws and some other skills. As you can see, Shockwave, it definitely can be very good because it stuns enemies in AoE for 2 seconds, 40 seconds cooldown. It always was like this significant ability in your protection warriors, especially from way before. But now you see that we need to sacrifice it in order for us to take more passives that just gonna do more numbers. Okay, with our protection talent tree, we go from Ignore Pain, Revenge. I don't really think that I need to describe this ability. Ignore Pain is one of your main defensives, just shields. Then Revenge is one of your main AoE damage dealing abilities. Demoralizing Shout decreases damage that enemy around you deal to you, and it's always just crispy good. Best Served Cold, Revenge deals more damage. Your success when your successful dodges or parries have made it cost no range. So just more damage to Revenge. Challenging Shout taunts all enemies, so that's just AoE taunt. Show of Force, Revenge damage increased by 10%, and Revenge increases the damage of your next Thunderclap. So again, both your AoE skills get increased damage, and it's quite obvious in here. Thunderlord increases the radius of Demoralizing Shout by 5 yards. Each enemy hit by Thunderclap reduces the remaining cooldown on Demoralizing Shout by 1 second up to 3 seconds. And that means that you're gonna have way better uptime on Demoralizing Shout, and that consequently that means that you're gonna receive way less damage. And then final part of the left part of the talent tree, Into the Fray, you gain 2% haste for each enemy or ally within 10 yards, up to 10% haste. That's definitely gonna like work very well in M+, because there's always gonna be some allies and enemies near you, and haste is always very good. So our center part is starts with Devastator. Your auto attacks deal additional damage, and you can't really use your Devastate. That opens up time for other skills in your rotation to be used, and that's 100% gonna be taken. Strategist, Devastate, Thunderclap, Revenge have 30% chance to reset remaining cooldown on Shield Slam, more Shield Slam procs. Rend, as we're taking Rend as additional damage like source with ways to spread it to all targets, and your bleed effects have a chance to grant you 5 rage. Proc chance 15%, which means that you're gonna have quite better just like rage generation with Rend, and Rend spreads with this talent combined. Shield Wall reduces all damage you take, so that's one of our main very heavy defensive abilities. And during defenses, Shield Block lasts 2 seconds longer, more uptime on your defensives. Anger Management, every 10 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on Avatar and Shield Wall, 2 of your main cooldowns. And bigger uptime on cooldowns, depending on when you're like spending your resource, is one of the best things that you possibly can imagine for yourself. Impenetrable Wall, Shield Slam generates an additional 3 rage and reduces the remaining cooldown of Shield Wall by 5 seconds, which means even more uptime. And for Impenetrable Wall, as you can see, we still have similar legendary ability currently in game, but when we will hit Dragonflight, of course our legendaries will cease to function. Yes, Shield Specialization increases block chance by 12% and your block value by 30%, which is definitely gonna be very, very good for your defensive purposes. Booming Voice, Demoralizing Shout also generates 30 rage, which is quite massive, and increases damage you deal to affected targets by 20%, and that's even better. Of course, that's way better than just 30 rage. So yeah, more damage for you, especially gonna be useful on AoE multiple targets. Then we have Indomitable. Your maximum health is increased by 10%, and every 10 rage you spend heals you for 1% of your maximum health, which means more self-sustain to warriors. And sustain is like one of the it's not signature part of warriors, and it's cool to see that you have ways to get some self-sustain in like as leech from just leech from like auto attacks, healing when you like spend rage, getting impending victory. It's very cool that we can have more ways to heal ourselves and be a little bit more self-sufficient. A Violent Outburst. Consuming 30 rage grants a stack of Seeing Red, which transforms at 8 stacks into Violent Outburst, causing your next Shield Slam or Thunderclap to deal 200% increased damage and generate 100% more rage and grant Ignore Pain. So that is very, very rage efficient talent. And then we have our right part of the tree. As you can see, with like Protection Warrior, it's way more like divided in subparts, and it's a bit like easier to read sequences of talents. So we have our Last Stand, which is one of our main defensive cooldowns. It increases maximum health. Brace for Impact. Using Shield Slam increases the damage of Shield Slam, and it increases the amount of damage you block by 5%, stacking up to 5 times. So that means the longer combat goes, more chance to block you have, and tougher you are. Brutal Vitality, and 30% of damage you deal adds to your active Ignore Pain, and that will definitely save you some rage. It will either save you some rage or just make you beefier if anyways all that damage goes all that shield value goes away with damage received. But it's very, very efficient talent as well. Tough as Nails. Blocking an attack deals physical damage to the attacker. Ignoring armor generates high threat as well. Again, additional like passive defense passive damage that you will deal to multiple enemies, and it will generate even more threat. So yeah, just very well balanced talent tree. Looks good. Protection Warrior Raid talent tree. This setup is oriented toward more mobility talents, raid utility, and single target damage. This setup will work best if you are using Reprisal. If not, you can drop Intervene, again as in previous example. If you're using the wall, spec out of Impenetrable Wall, as they do not stack. I will just, for you to remember, for you to recall, I will remind you that it's all pre-patch builds. Let's see at our general talent tree. Is that way different? So no Stormbolt, no single target stuns here. Then we're taking Intervene. Yeah, it's like, especially if you're using Retrieval, okay. Then what do we have here? So we're staying with our avatar anyways. We're getting everything down here just like almost like it was, so without seismic reverberation. So yeah, if Revenge hits 3 or more enemies, it hits 1 additional time, so you don't really need, you probably wouldn't really hit 3 or more enemies inside raids, which means that this talent is gonna be quite useless. Stuns as well are not as important in raids, like most of the times. And with what like talents are we replacing it? What talents we are taking instead? Man, I can't really see it. So we're taking off Stormbolt. We're getting Intervene for ourselves. Yeah, and then we're not using Seismic Reverberation. Oh, we're using like Bounding Stride. Reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 15 seconds, and Heroic Leap now also increases your run speed by 70% for 3 seconds. That's in order for you to like have way better time dealing with different raid mechanics. You need more mobility, you need more uptime on your Heroic Leap, and that's quite logical. So that's like most changes there. And now let's see with our specialization talent tree. Okay, so we're definitely taking here. We're definitely taking other talents here. No Thunderlord. Yeah, so no Thunderlord. Here we're taking Sudden Death. Your attacks have a chance to make your next execute cost no rage, be usable on any target regardless of their health, and deal damage as if you spent 40 rage. All right. Now we're not taking Thunderlord, which is again quite logical. In center part of the tree, Blood Surge, still everything goes like before, and we're not taking Booming Voice. Demoralizing Shout also generates 30 rage and increases damage you deal to affected targets by 20%, because in raids you're not really the main damage dealer, and your contribution to damage is not as highly valuable as your defensives, pure defensives. We're taking Ravager. Okay, throws a whirling weapon at the target location that chases nearby enemies, inflicting physical damage to all enemies over 12 seconds, deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. So yeah, 1 charge, 1.5 minutes recharge, and we're taking a bit more talents in the right part of the talent tree with Punish. And do we change Tough as Nails? No, we probably don't. Nope, that's still Tough as Nails, yeah. Punish. Shield Slam deals 10% increased damage and reduces enemies' damage against you by 3%. Multiple punishments may overlap. So yeah, that's definitely gonna be very good damage reduction to you that you're applying to boss. And just dealing more damage with Shield Slam can be useful, but mostly that's for your survivability. And yeah, as we can see, there's not much changes here, so it's not like completely otherworldly talent tree. A Protection Warrior leveling talent tree, well, I don't really know if you want to see for warrior leveling talent tree, you can like go to the article and check it out, look at it, because that's that's less of a of used build, I guess. I guess it will be, yeah. Because for leveling, it's way easier to understand what you really need, and it's mostly comes to what you really want to have. So yeah, again, thanks for watching. Hope you're having a blast playing pre-patch, and I hope that you will enjoy Dragonflight expansion itself, and I will enjoy it too. Subscribe to the video if you want more content like this. Have a good day. Goodbye.